Welcome to the Healthy Investor Podcast with Bob Mastroianni, where you and I will learn from successful real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and other highly driven individuals about their journey and the healthy habits and routines that play an integral part of their growth. Before we jump into this podcast, I want to tell you a little bit about an event that's coming up this November and how you can be a part of it. Multifamily Mastery 5 in Orlando, Florida this November, sponsored by the Jake and Gino community. If you're a new investor looking to learn about multifamily investing, or if you're a seasoned investor looking to grow your multifamily business, this is the place to be. There's a lot of networking, education, and I just saw the speaker list and you will not be disappointed. Jam-packed with excellent speakers with experience in the multifamily industry. Multifamily Mastery 5, November 5th and 6th in Orlando, Florida. If you look at the show notes, I'll have a special link for Healthy Investor Podcast listeners only. Click on the link and enter code MASTERY2022 to get $200 off of your Multifamily Mastery 5 tickets. I'll be there in Orlando, and I hope to see you there too. All right, welcome back to the Healthy Investor Podcast. I'm really excited today to have with me Matt Faircloth. Matt has been a full-time real estate investor for 15 years. In that time, he has successfully completed projects involving dozens of fix and flips, office buildings, single-family homes, and apartment buildings. He has amassed a portfolio of over 1,000 units and raised tens of millions of dollars in equity for the real estate projects in both debt and equity positions on these deals from passive investors. Matt is also an Amazon bestseller with his book, Raising Private Capital, How to Build Your Real Estate Empire with Other People's Money. He's a coach, mentor, and he's also a major contributor to BiggerPockets. And he's also become a friend to me. So Matt, thanks so much for being here. I'm really excited to have you here.
Bob, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be a guest on your show.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So just a little bit of a backstory. So Matt, you and I originally met, I guess, probably 5 or 6 years ago at the South Jersey Investors Association, local investors association in the South Jersey area. You know, it's funny for listeners who haven't participated in local real estate investment clubs. You know, it's a great way to network, great way to meet people. And, you know, you and I happened to just meet at 1 or 2 events there. And then you were running your own subgroup that I never really made it to. So, but if you can, just tell us a little bit about, tell us a little bit about your story, how you started out. I know you started out with some smaller properties, you know, 1 and 2 unit in central New Jersey, correct? And then moved on. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. You know, we started out doing small stuff in Trenton. Actually, before that, I was a home that I lived in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. And then got married and moved to South Jersey, to Bordentown, and started investing in my own backyard, which was Trenton, New Jersey, and built it from there. And it's funny, I don't get to talk about the networking side of it very often, but since you and I kind of originated our relationship there, it's good to mention that in the very beginning, when I was living in Conshohocken, I was going to DIG meetings, you know, the Diversified Investment Group, which is like a local RIA out of Philly. And met a few friends there and started playing cash flow, Rich Dad's cash flow game in my living room.
Great.
And when I was still at a day job and everything like that. So then fast forward to moving to South Jersey, my wife and I got involved in SJ RIA, and many years of working in SJ RIA, getting to know folks like you and Tom Dagny, the other guys that were running that over the years and everything like that. And worked my way up to having my own subgroup with them, and worked my way up to running a chapter for them in the Central Jersey chapter. And it was that whole journey. I just want to tell your listeners that it is important as ever to get out there. And people are like, oh, nobody goes to RIA meetings anymore face to face. Everybody just digital or whatever. Not true. I'm seeing more and more people at these live face to faces. You know, post COVID and that. So I think live meetups are back, and they're a great way to build relationships. As you and I met, as you said, and I think that's one of the things I attribute, you know, pre BiggerPockets, pre getting involved with them, like a means to getting used to public speaking, getting used to getting my name out there, getting used to explaining things. And there's something to being the one that runs a little subgroup of 20, 30, 40 people. There's something to being in the front of the room every week, every month. It gives you that confidence on public speaking. And so that if you do end up finding yourself in front of a room of 200 or 300 people, you've gotten good at it. And that's where I got good at public speaking, was at little local small RIAs. And now I do it on a much larger scale, but I started it small, right? So everybody should start small there. And also, you're the front of the room. And so people are thinking like, man, I got this deal. I don't know who to call. So I would get a lot of calls on deals for Trenton because I ran the Trenton/Mercer County subgroup when I first got started. And so people would bring me opportunities, and I didn't always want to do the deals, but I would try and find a way to, facilitate. You meet a ton of people like you meet a ton of other investors, and eventually you start attracting capital for people that want to invest with you. So those were one of my original spots that I built a brand for myself and built a name and got comfortable being in front of a group for a lot of reasons. I cannot preach enough to people. If there's an opportunity to get out there for yourself, do it as running one of those groups, because it's a good way to practice.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. It's interesting you say that you feel like in person's coming back. I sort of wonder if, maybe it was starting to drift a little bit, and then all of a sudden the world changed and we were forced to be away from each other bit. And then now it's almost like, wow, we get to be together. We almost appreciate it a little bit more. And I agree with you, face to face, shaking someone's hand, having a conversation. Zoom is nice because Zoom has sort of brought the world together when you're really far apart. But if you can be in person with people, building relationships in this business that's a really, really important
Zoom's
aspect.
Not going to replace face to face. We're not going to, we went to a world where that's all we could do for a while. And I think that it opened it up to where, you and I are sitting not too far from each other right now, probably inside of an hour physically. And it's good to do this because it makes it easy, right? It's just simple. We could have done it in a studio, but it's nice to do it on Zoom. And now you can interview somebody real easy on Zoom in California or have meetups or whatever. But by no means is it going to replace face-to-face, maybe some folks thought that, but I didn't think we were ever going to go to 100% digital world. It opens things up, and it's an option on top of going face to face. But there's just nothing like looking somebody in the eye, shaking their hand, talking deals, monitoring their body language, monitoring their reactions, seeing if they get excited when you bring something up, one of those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's great. So talking about your days in investing in central New Jersey in the Trenton area, at that point you were mostly were you doing fix and flip opportunities? Were you doing buy and hold, a combination of both?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything you can get your hands on, right?
Whatever I get my hands on. Yeah.
Great.
Just running around and not as focused as we are now, but doing really whatever came across our desk at the time, and that we had a lot of fun, met a lot of contractors. But just when you're doing small deals like that, you can kind of do more deals because it's like, okay, here is a home. This has come across my plate. This is a foreclosure. Likely not going to lease to cover the spread of cost. So, but is it a bougie area where people probably would pay me a lot to live here if I made it nice? And so that means it's a flip. Where next deal comes down the pipeline and you're like, okay, here is a rental that I can get for a low enough cost that I can go and make it in a great condition at a low enough cost that the rents will cover my debt cost to carry those costs to bring it up to nice, to nice conditions. But you could run the numbers each time. And we tended to rent in more of the, middle income areas, like Trenton, Hamilton, Ewing, and built up a nice portfolio of rentals. And we would sell in like the, West Windsor, South Jersey, Burlington County, Lawrenceville areas too, and some parts of Hamilton and Ewing too. And that, so we kind of had our little flip and, our flip map and our rental map, and also like there were properties where we would flip. And then, there were one deal we were leasing one deal, and it was a couple blocks away from another house that we had flipped, just based the strike price that we got it for. So that just goes back to the numbers. It made us a lot more nimble. Now we have to be regional, just given the type of deal that we seek. I can't do what I do oh, did this deal and it's only a mile away from that deal, just given the arena that we're in. But not that I miss those days, because you got to be grateful for where you are. But
Sure.
back in those investing days, we were able to pretty much, in some deals we would do some wholesales and that kind of thing too, which you're able to do. And when you cast a wide enough net, and there's different ways you can process deals that come through, you can do a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. Well, I know from our group, and even based on the South Jersey investors, Trenton is an area that,
Yes.
I'm probably, I don't know, 45 minutes south of Trenton. And if I walked out my door and pulled all my neighbors together and said, "Hey, let's go to Trenton," I would be in the car by myself.
They would
right?
say, to buy what, right?
Right. And so there's
Yeah,
sort of a perception that, don't even go into Trenton. And it's really inspiring for me to hear that you went into an area and maybe costs were a little bit lower. So it's probably a little bit of an easier point of entry, but it also, it was a little bit of a tougher area, I would assume. And you made it work, right?
Well, we did. Yeah, we made a lot of money there. Let's face it. And we made a lot of difference. We created a lot of great opportunities and did right by the tenants and all those things, right? So we were able to implement our plan. The reason why the prices were low is because of the perception the city has, right?
Yeah.
And so you and your neighbors are not going to be willing to go into Trenton. But if you tell your neighbors, "Hey man, let's go into Philadelphia and buy some deals. Go invest in some real estate in Philly, or let's go invest in real estate in Raleigh, North Carolina," right? You have a line around the block. And the reason, and so what that creates, that line around the block drives up prices. It drives down cap rates. It drives attention to an area, which means that people are willing to pay more because there is a perceived level of safety, security for that market. Trenton does not have that perceived level. It's got the opposite of that.
Sure.
It's got a perceived level of unsafety, but as you know, the most myths are untrue. And so the myth that Raleigh is the best place in the entire world to invest your money is not true, as well as the myth that places like Detroit and Trenton are the worst places in the world and you're likely going to get shot walking down the street. That's also not true. Sure. I still own some properties in Trenton. I was there yesterday. There is still a context of plenty of safety. There is commerce that happens there. Is it a thriving, bustling economy that's like, the next Hoboken, New Jersey? No, it is certainly not. But there is the myths are halfway true, just like they are for good markets. And because of that, we were able to get deals for like a really good discount. Back then, we were doing the 2% rule or more, meaning like I'm buying a property for 30, 40K and leasing it out for $1,000, and it might need 5,000 worth of work. So we were all in cost basis at $4,500, $45,000, and I'm getting 1,000 or more in rent. Forget about it. The yield spread was fantastic. It's just the problem was, Bob, it was hard to scale that, because Trenton doesn't have the inventory of tons and tons and tons of big multifamily. It's hard to scale Trenton because it's a lot of small rooftops, a lot of little duplexes, triplexes, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, what I love that you said, and there's a lot to unpack there, but what I love that you said is that you made a difference in people's lives and you made a difference to the community. And, I joke, but I've actually been to several different areas of Trenton, and there's good people in every area, and there's people that you can help in every area. And really one of the biggest advantages, I think, to this business is that you can provide value to people. I've often said, and this is sort of a different conversation probably for a different time, but when I talk about the idea that my investments have tax breaks and, those kind of things, I say, well, we're providing quality homes for quality people so that they can raise their families. And that needs to exist everywhere.
There's a reason why there's tax breaks, not because we're like fat cat billionaires, right? It's because landlords do like, not that, we do the right thing. No, we provide housing though, right? And it's needed. And unless you want to transfer if you want to transfer a housing providership 100% over to the government, good luck. Right. Let's investigate some places where that's who's providing housing to everyone is the government. Right. Let's take a look at those and see how that worked out. Didn't work out so well. So it's better to have for-profit companies do it, and not-for-profits too, of course. And that's what you and I do. And so it's okay to get tax incentives for doing it. The mantra for my company is to transform lives through real estate. That's what we do. That's what we stand for. And so I'm there to make my tenants' lives better and give them safety, quality, community. if I can give them those things, while I also give my investors a great return on their money, something alternative to Wall Street, all that stuff, I've done my job. So I affect both ends of the spectrum.
Great. I love that. I absolutely love hearing that. And I think that continues to drive the point home that I've been trying to yell from the rooftops a bit, is that the people in this business are really looking out for their clients. They're really looking out for their, not only your investors, but making a difference in a community.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So
that's called making money while you make a difference, right, Bob? That's
absolutely. Absolutely. You can take care of enough people and you'll be taken care of.
Right? I got one more. We'll just keep throwing these.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
I got another one. Serve the masses, eat with the classes. Right.
Oh,
if you serve enough people and take care of enough people, you will eat, you live a good life, let's say. Right.
Great.
Yeah.
So in your journey, you've sort of transitioned now and you're into larger multifamilies, right? Yes. Apartment buildings and apartment complex. Tell me a little bit about that transition and sort of how it came to be and what it looks like today.
Well, yeah, it happened because at a point, we started raising money we scaled up and did a lot of the work in Trenton on our own money and with immediate family's money. We started taking our message and our brand and the opportunity to invest passively with us to others around 2011, right? And so that started to expand out. We started to get our brand out there and our name out there to a few more people. And it started to generate more and more people that wanted to invest, wanted to throw a few dollars into deals and into opportunities, right? Fine. We needed to take down larger and larger opportunities to put that money to work. We were taking down larger scattered site. Like we raised a bunch of money and did like 19 units in Trenton scattered site, 5 unit here, 4 unit over there, 10 unit over here. And then this more and more money started to come in. This is before I started working with BiggerPockets. This was just word of mouth and us expanding and marketing and, networking and ringing the bells and going to SJ RIA meetings and all that stuff. Right. So we built it up and more money started coming in that I couldn't put it to work. And so I needed to seek larger markets to put more money to work at a clip. And so we found Philadelphia and we did fine. We started like, okay, Philadelphia is close enough. So we expanded to Philly. And we found that as much as I can talk about, hey, Trenton's great, there's also a bad side to landlording in Trenton, because a lot of times the tenants in Trenton are having a hard time, making ends meet, let's say.
Sure.
And so evictions and turnarounds can be a problem. And I can tell you some Trenton landlording stories, Bob. That'll knock your socks off, right? Sure. And all that, and some of the mess we had to deal with, and everything from gang stuff to all kinds of yuck that happened in landlording there. And we found that those problems didn't exist in other markets, or didn't exist in the other markets that had the problems, but didn't have the problems that Trenton did. And so we were ready to spread our wings and try new markets on. So we went to Philly and then Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And then BiggerPockets. Then we started writing articles for BiggerPockets. My wife Liz and I did, and that opened up what we had built, a good foundation of landlording our own deals and eventually hiring third-party landlords to third-party property management companies to run our deals. And we had built a good brand with our website and a means to, point and click invest on our website and stuff like that. So by the time I started getting really, really serious with our articles for BiggerPockets, we were ready to expand into larger and larger arenas. And so we were taking down larger and larger deals that went from Lancaster, Pennsylvania to North Carolina. And that. So we, and also had met some new partners that were able to carry our mission and fly our flag into larger arenas. And that's how North Carolina happened. And eventually Lexington, Kentucky happened. And now here we are, and we still own a few assets in North Carolina, in New Jersey and in Trenton, but mostly our portfolio is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and North Carolina. As we just expanded and grew and started to really make that funnel larger and larger and larger for folks that want to work with us. And we took the lessons we learned in Trenton, which I'm still grateful for, and took those and brought them into larger and larger arenas, into larger metros and everything like that.
That's great. That's great. So, yeah, I'm in the process of sort of transitioning out of my smaller units into larger multifamily units. So, learning these lessons, one of the great things that I hope to gain from this podcast is, I have the ability to, I have a desire to self-educate, but I also have a desire to teach. And so I'm sort of learning and teaching at the same time. And it's fun. It's fun to grab these lessons. When you started contributing to BiggerPockets, I want to transition a little bit and talk about BiggerPockets. So you started contributing to BiggerPockets. I know you've been on the show a few times. You've been on the BiggerPockets podcast a few times.
4.
You wrote how many?
4.
4. Okay. Wow.
I'm going on, believe it, and I'm not trying to like set a record or nothing like that. I just have a great relationship with those folks, and we see the world the same way with regards to like give and you will get, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And so I'm going on the show again next month.
Great.
No.
And so some of the things I know, when you wrote your book, was your book in coordination with BiggerPockets, or was that?
Oh, they published it.
They published it. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's air quote their book. Like I am the author of the book of Raising Private Capital, but they published the book that is through their publishing company. It's a BiggerPockets production, if you will.
That's great. That's great. So for those who don't know, I mean, BiggerPockets for many of us was the biggest resource for free education. Yes. They really created the path as far as podcasting is concerned, and then digital community, and then started writing books. So that's really cool.
They're the gold standard. They're the way real estate investing education ought to be. And there's something to paying someone for knowledge, but paying someone doesn't necessarily have to be $10, $20, $30,000 for them to whisper the secret of real estate investing in your ear. What BiggerPockets has, I think one of their like messages is there is no secret. You don't need to pay $10, $20, $30,000 to anybody for them to tell you how to do this. If you use it's just straightforward, down the middle of the fairway, logical procedures and education for real estate investing. And BiggerPockets is there for people like myself and like you that are active real estate investors to teach and collaborate and help each other. Right. Yeah. That's really what you need. That's what the community's always needed. And up until BiggerPockets, there was, you got to buy your way in. Yeah. You had to pay up line, almost like the mafia to learn how to real estate invest. You had to pay somebody 10, 20 grand for them to teach you how to do the business. But BiggerPockets really, normalized it.
Yeah. And it created a community, which is great too. So that's excellent. So
strong.
And so I know you're doing some mentoring. I think you just ran a boot camp for BiggerPockets.
Yes, I just launched our second one. I'm grateful to be teaching their multifamily boot camp, which is again, listen, if you guys would rather write a bigger check, go ahead and do that. But you can learn multifamily investing by paying someone a 5-figure number, make it up, or you can pay BiggerPockets a couple $100, to take a boot camp with, several hundred of your best friends that are all there to help and collaborate and network. And that's what I love about what I've created with them is a model that we teach several times a week. And there people, do Q&A, people pick our brains. They also get to watch a well-produced, well thought out video module that's once a week. They watch like a half an hour to an hour video module that takes them through each step of the multifamily investing process. They Q&A with us each week on what we've taught or about whatever they want. Then there's an enormous community through technology that they can collaborate with each other and set up Zoom calls and, hey, I want to invest in Chattanooga. Well, I want to invest in Chattanooga too. Let's talk. And so they can connect with people that are of like mindset, like goals, like whatever. And so the exposure to the knowledge and exposure to each other is open as well. So the last one we taught, we're in the middle of one now. On the last one that we had, we had 670 people in it. in that group, there were people that by week 12, they were out making offers on deals together. And I am certain that that group that formed, that Chattanooga is where they wanted to invest, that group will close a project. They'll make it happen. Not because of me, but because of each other, because they came in and wanted to collaborate in that. So it's and there's people that have taken other guru classes or whatever and paid a lot more and said, listen, for the price that for what you guys are charging, it's worth 10 to 20x of what you guys are charging for this thing. So I'm grateful to be there for providing that to folks. So
yeah. And you know, and that is one of the things that, you know, one of the directions that's important to me. You know, I think, you know, I've told you my story before, but, you know, I invested in Philadelphia, South Jersey, have a few 2 and 3 unit properties that I've, you know, bought over the years and rent them out. And everything that I did was a little bit of our capital. You know, I may have done some of the work, right? And as I move into multifamily, I found it to be amazing that, first of all, finding the right community and people that you're networking with.
Yeah.
But it really is so much more of a collaboration. And I feel like, you know, I may have gotten to a little bit of I don't want to say stuck, but there was a bit position where I was like, okay, this is about as far as I'm going to go. And I had to open my mind up a little bit to the idea of, like, you know, talking with people and bringing in partners and all of that. And, you know, you're absolutely right. I'm sure your group in Chattanooga, because they brought like-minded people together and they created this network, and they're all sort of focused on the exact same thing. They will be successful because you've given them great education, and then they brought the resources together. So that's really cool.
We just gave them the platform. We just gave them a space to have a conversation with each other about things that we were kind of like suggesting that they talk about, and they took it and ran with it. It was great. Which is all people ever need, really. I mean, they don't need the exact script. They just need a shot, you know. Give me a platform, give me something fair, and I'll take it the rest of the way, you know.
And how awesome is that for you too? I'm sure, you know, just knowing that you've helped to bring these people together, you've helped to kind of guide them and provide resources for them. And then, you know, the reality is that when done right on the right scale, I mean, investing in real estate can change their lives. Right?
It's about as fulfilling. I mean, fulfilling is the right word. I think it's about as fulfilling as it gets.
Yeah.
To know that I'm making a difference and that I'm helping people get along, and that they can, if they, you know, do the right thing by their tenants, so they can, you know, create communities for themselves and create communities and maybe make an income and, you know, put their kid through college or something like that, or live a better life for themselves, or just create more joy for themselves or whatever, the income that they're making, but also create a better space for their tenants to enjoy as well, and push back against the mantra and against the view of the landlording community, because the world doesn't understand landlords. The world thinks landlords are, you know, we're about the most misunderstood profession out there. And maybe I can help make people be more aware. We're actually not that bad. We're just we're actually just business folks just trying to get by. That's it. Just like the next person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Great. Well, good job. I like that you're doing that. So I want to make a little bit of a transition. Obviously, this is the Healthy Investor Podcast. I want to talk about some of the things, you know, one of the big things that I've learned over the years in dealing with meeting successful people and entrepreneurs is that they seem to have habit or routine related to health or mental health, physical health, that helps to not only continue to help you focus and drive, but also sort of rolls over into your business. So what do those things look like for you?
You know, what's funny is I found that what's worked for me in the business also works for me on my health, which is consistency, right?
Okay.
That if I'm going to do a thing, I better be right. If I want to be successful, I can't do a thing once. I better be ready to do that thing 10,000 times. Right.
Okay.
With that, like on the physical side, that's running a couple miles on a treadmill, or doing a curl with a weight, or eating a salad, right? Whatever it is, you know, and insert healthy thing here. Because guess what, Bob? It's just like this. It's just like the secret of real estate investing. There is no secret to health either. You want to lose weight, exercise more, eat less. Stop right there. Like,
Yeah.
and there's equations and like little hacks you can do. Like, I'm gonna do paleo, whatever, but I bet you can't eat 5,000 calories of paleo food, right? So
Right.
eat less, exercise more, and eat food that you like, eat food your body's going to respond to, whatever. But you can't do it just once, right? Just like in business, you can't just plan, I'm going to set some goals and I'm going to take action towards those goals, but I'm only going to do it on Tuesdays. No, that's not going to work, right? You got to do that every day. You got to be consistent. You got to read your goals on a daily basis. You got to think about what you want to do and plan out your days and act intentionally towards what you want every day, just like you do towards your health. I think that consistency in business and health are and there's a ton more interchanges between business and health that we can discuss, but far and away, the only way you will get success in health or business really is by, doing what you got to do and doing it consistently.
That's yeah, absolutely. So have you, I know, we spoke once before. You had me on your podcast, which I'm very grateful for. And at the time, I think we spoke about some, yes,
you can still listen to it. It's still out there. It's called the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Guy Show. Me and my good friend, Dr. David Eglowitz, had that. It was called the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Guys Show. And you can listen to the show and listen to Bob. The great conversation that we had with Bob, which is maybe where I inception the idea to Bob about having a podcast to begin with.
Yeah, well, absolutely. A light bulb went on that day. I'll never forget the first time I listened to myself back. I said, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
And B,
actually sound pretty good.
I need a better microphone. And so now I'm doing both. But we talked a little bit about some events, right? I do some triathlons, and I think you tried some of those things. Have you done any
next
lately?
level? What's that?
Have you done any sort of fitness events lately? Races or bikes?
Not
or
lately.
Like
I've done two I'm among friends, right? So I'll tell you. I'll tell you two triathlons that I've done. One. I did a lot of training for swimming, and I can run as far as I want to run. No problem. I can bike. I can get that done. I can figure it out. I don't have a very good bike. I got like a hybrid bike, but I don't have like a road bike, but I've got an okay bike that's good enough to get it done. Right. Swim though, not so much. And so I did a lot of training in the pool, and I swam. And then I went to the, I think it was the Central Jersey, the Mercer County Triathlon, which was just a sprint, I mean, it's like, the swim is maybe a little bit longer than a bathtub. Right. And I get in
probably about a quarter mile, maybe a little bit more, right?
Which isn't that much, I get in and I'm just used to being able to see the nice black line and used to being able to see where I'm going and everything like that. You get in and you see nothing but green when you put your head into the water. Right.
Yes.
And that didn't work so well for me, Bob, and I panicked. And when you panic, what do? You start to hyperventilate, and hyperventilating is not a good thing when you're swimming, because you have to regulate your breathing when you're swimming. That's the way to success. You could swim 9 miles probably if you wanted to. You just got to breathe right. You got to breathe right. It's probably the key to it, is slow down and breathe right. Well, hyperventilating is the opposite of that. Sure. And so I ended up having to get yanked out of the Mercer County Triathlon. I did not make it. And so I had to get boated back to shore. And luckily enough, they let me do the bike and the run.
You did the other two. Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
And then I did the Long Branch Triathlon years later. And lucky for me, that's in the ocean. And lucky for me, the surf was really rough that day, Bob. And so
they canceled the swim?
They did. And I was like, yes. I was ready for it. I'd done a lot more open water swim. But I was high-fiving myself inside my little brain and that. So I have yet to master open water swimming where I'm not in a pool. I can swim in a pool all I want, but open water swimming, I probably should give another crack at triathlons at some point in my life, but I'm not. Right now, I'm doing what Tim Ferriss would call the minimum effective dose. Meaning, like, I'm not into. I don't want to run a marathon. I just want to run enough to keep my body. I want to do enough to keep my body healthy, but not so much that I get injured.
Okay.
Okay,
right? Great.
There's that nice little Goldilocks zone for health. Where I don't want to get hurt.
Well, I can tell you that I I have a decent amount of open water swim
I bet
experience.
you do.
I've probably been doing this now 6-7 years. I probably swim in the open water 15 to 20 times a year, depending on how many weekends exist in the summertime. And just a few weeks back, Memorial Day weekend, just to kind of make you feel like no matter how much experience you have, it doesn't change. I did a 1 mile swim in Wildwood Crest, New Jersey in the Bay. So it's called Sunset Lake. Basically it's almost like a P shape. You go straight down for about 400 meters and then make 3 rights and you come back to the finish line. The water was cold. We jumped off of the dock. I came up, panic, hyperventilate. It was cold. It was the first time I was back. What was that?
How cold are we talking?
The water was probably about 60 degrees, but it was my first time back.
Are you in a suit or no?
I had a wetsuit, sleeveless, but it just something just hit me. And it was like, and it probably, fortunately, someone who I am friends with that's in my triathlon group was close by. I went back to the dock and hung on the dock for about a minute and a half. They were like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just really breathing funny," which is obviously a concern. And a friend came up and said, "Hey, let's do this together." And it took me a good quarter of a mile to get my breathing right.
Yeah.
And I finished. But your point about seeing the green is very interesting because, again, throughout the winter, I'm swimming in the pool when I get a chance, but you see nice and clearly, right? You have these goggles on, you put your face in the water, and sometimes you see green and sometimes it's even brown, right? Depending in the New Jersey water.
Yeah.
And it's at that point where you say,
sometimes a little dead fish, like, I better bite.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. At that point, you're like, I don't want to see something. Now it's like, if I see something, it's scary. But
I don't know if they do that anymore, but like a buddy of mine did it was a New York triathlon or whatever, where they do it through part of it's either through the Hudson or the East River, and he said, like, you do see like dead fish like floating by you and stuff like that. I mean, that water's nasty up there. And that, so yeah, but yet, you're in open water, right? So you're going to see things and you're not going to but pools can spoil you as much as like the chlorine's nasty in a pool. You just feel that chlorine film. There is something that the open water feels good, but you've got to have a lot more confidence in open water, Well, that's a nice consolation prize. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you got over it and got it done. That's probably one of my regrets is that I didn't because they had a lifeguard. Like they have, and you don't want to have like a drowning on your record, right? So they have people that are in kayaks, like every 20 feet.
Kayaks, stand-up paddle boards. Yeah.
Right. Just volunteers. And so I just grabbed this young woman with a kayak and she was like, "Stay here for as long as you want. Stay here for as long as you want. You're okay." And I caught my breath back. And I was a little embarrassed about it. So I was like, "Stay there, I can do this." my inner caveman kicked in, right? All this training, I'm fine. And so I hung under her kayak for maybe 10 seconds. Had I done what you did, would just stay there, maybe had a conversation with her, just like let her get out of my head a little bit, and had a little more patience and got my breathing down right, that would have been fine. But I launched off her kayak after like 10 seconds. Swim like 50 yards and couldn't get my breathing down and caught another kayak. I was like, let me, and I made the mistake of telling that lifeguard, "Oh, this is my second time stopping." It's like, she was like, "This is your second time?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, we got to come out. If this is your second time stopping, I'm not allowed to allow you to continue." And because they can't, it's, it's a liability. I mean, safety. They don't want that. But anyway, kudos to you for having a little more patience and having that community underscore that. Like, it's great to have somebody that's got your six. Like, "Hey, all right, let's do it together. Let's do this.
Right.
Let me do this with you."
She and she absolutely could have finished probably 5, 8, 10 minutes faster than me, but she just kind of hung along with me and sort of did the thing. It's funny. I had a goal for that event. It was a mile swim. So I had a goal. It was only the second time I've done a mile. Yeah. And my goal was to be under 50 minutes. And my time was 51 and a half. And I was like, I know I was on that dock for a minute and a half. Because it starts when you jump off.
That's kind of how it goes, isn't it? I mean, like, I'll set a goal. Let's transition to business, right? Like, you could be like, "Matt, I want to buy 100 units this year of multifamily." Well, if you buy 90, are you going to be pissed? Are you going to get out of the business? Are you going to like, go jump off a dock again or something like that?
Right.
No, you still did something. You still swam a mile,
Yeah.
and all that
Yep.
training, you swim a lot more than a mile training up to that race. Cause as you know, it's the training is where it matters. It's not the
Yes.
race itself. The race itself is just a victory lap. It's just a benchmark to hold yourself to. The training is really what matters for any type of event like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's
know?
excellent. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun, Matt. I really appreciate. I want to go into our final 3 questions that I'm asking every guest. But because I have the feeling, and we probably already know this, you and I could go on for another hour
Oh
if we
yeah.
wanted
You
to.
could
Right?
Joe Rogan me right now. We could do 3 hours if you wanted to. Right. Yeah.
Oh, great. So, what is for you? What is your definition of success? How do you define success?
Living life on your own terms.
I love it. I love it. And what I love about it is that there was no thought. I didn't prepare you for that question. You just
I didn't know
know.
that. I didn't know that question.
No,
I didn't know you were going to ask me that.
no, not at all. And you just know what your definition is. And
I got a buddy that he's been able to work his way up to 30 units. He has no desire to buy any more. He puts in, and I'm not like, this is what he's choosing to do, puts in 10 hours a week, maybe rides his motorcycle, probably 4 days a week. When the weather's nice, when it's not, he hangs out with his wife. He doesn't make hundreds of thousands of dollars. He might not even make 6 figures on his rentals, but he gets to choose what he wants to do every minute of every day. And he is probably one of the most successful people I know, because when it comes to that, if you monitor success on dollars in your bank, then there's a lot of people you could point to that you might not want to emulate that are successful, that you might call successful based on that. But that's his terms. It's not what I want. I don't like to ride a motorcycle, but for him, that's what he wants. And so he's 100% owning the life that he wants. And I think that that's what success is. What do you want from life, and being able to get out there and manifest it? That's success. Whatever your definition of life on your own terms is.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. So question number 2. So for someone who's new to investing, or even learning just to focus on their goals and their path to success, do you have a book recommendation?
Yeah. I mean, everybody talks about Rich Dad Poor Dad and everything like that. I will say that those that I know that are successful really are able to get their mindset right. And so I'll throw a book out there that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. And just only because I'm trying to go off the beaten path for you a little bit, because
Sure.
a lot of your guests are going to say Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Which is a
Sure.
phenomenal book. But The Power of Now teaches you about being present in the moment. And I think that a lot of ways that I see successful people are they don't just wait to talk. They really try and get into a conversation and like try and find solutions and try and like get that there's no right or wrong or whatever it is. And that's how you you'll get to that success of living life on your own terms much faster. If you, honor technology, like, living like The Power of Now. So Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, great book.
Great. Well, that's one I have not read yet, so I'm going to add that to my list also. Great.
Yeah.
So before we get to the final question, first of all, I want to thank you. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a whole lot of fun. How can we support you? And then how can people get in touch with you?
Support me by support me by just maybe subscribing to my YouTube channel and whatever it may be. They can hear more about me or more about what we do 2 ways: by going to my Instagram handle, which is the Matt Faircloth on Instagram. And on there's a link, and in there, there's on my bio, there's a ton of different ways they can follow us, or they can just go to my website, DeRosa Group, DEROSA, DeRosaGroup.com, and they can hear about all kinds of cool stuff that we're up to. They can check out the stuff we're doing for BiggerPockets. They can buy a copy of my book. And they can, if you want to do passive investing and let us do the work for you and enjoy just the mailbox money and the checks in the mail, they can do that on our website too at DeRosaGroup.com.
Oh, great. So the final question, if you could think back with me a little bit to a young Matt, maybe like 10, 12 years old, sort of knowing what you've learned so far on your journey, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give to a young 10 to 12-year-old Matt, or even any pre-teenage child to help guide you towards success?
That's a good question. It's funny. I think that, a lot of teenage child, including me, probably wanted to get rich overnight. And that's that just life and success is a marathon is what I would tell myself. I'm 46 years old and I'm still, working on raising my game each day. Right. And
Great.
what can I do better? What can I tweak? What can I do this? And I'm 46, right? You would think like if I was 19 or 16 or whatever, like, okay, how can I make $10 million by the time that I'm 17 so I don't have to work the rest of my life? Not going to happen. Right. And the rude awakening is coming,
Yeah.
And that's, I just get that life's a journey and a marathon, and you're never going to there's never easy street. Life is actually difficult. And it's maybe designed to be. And maybe those that I know that are not leading difficult lives are not happy. And so accept the difficulty and the challenges of life. And if you just accept and immerse yourself in that it's just a journey. It's maybe not going to be easy all the time. There's a lot of peace in that and accepting, and a lot of peace and confidence, and just, hey, we'll figure it out. And then tomorrow, the sun still rises tomorrow. And if you promise yourself, again, you ask for three things, and it's kind of blending three lessons. And the last one I would say that I would tell my young self is that if I just give myself my word that I'm not going to quit. Right. I told myself that when I first quit my day job and started investing full time when I was 29, that I'm not going to give this thing up, that I'm going to just try again, no matter what. Then it's created a lot of resiliency for me again, because Bob, this business can hit back really hard, just like triathlons and physical challenges and trying to, bench more than you did yesterday will, right? It can hit back hard. There are injuries and all those things that happen. But if you commit to working around it, you commit to trying again and getting back in that boxing ring and fighting another round, you'll get through it. You will. And I've learned that myself the hard way, because I've been uppercutted a few times. And I've learned that the only way that I lose is if I quit. And so if I tell myself that I won't do that, then I'm destined to win eventually.
Yeah.
Might take a while to get there, but I will win.
That's great. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Matt. I really appreciate it. Please go and support Matt Faircloth, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for everyone listening to the Healthy Investor Podcast, and go make it a great day. Thanks so much for joining me on the Healthy Investor Podcast. Check out the show notes for more information about connecting with our guest. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please head on over to iTunes and leave a positive rating and review. It would mean the world to me. I'm grateful for your support, and I wish you an abundance of success on your journey to healthy investments and a healthy life.